Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for realizing that a new video is live and having realized you clicked on the button and now you're watching with me. Before you go any further, if you have not hit your subscribe button yet, I'm going to ask you to do just that. If you are a returning viewer or a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me again. Now today we're going to be talking about some lessons, right? It's a homeschool discussion, but we know that, as the quote says, children learn more from what we are than from what we teach. And there's also another quote that says, don't just teach children how to count, but teach them what counts. And so we want to, as we look at lessons and ways to teach and academic content, to also look at the more important area, because there is a more important area, and that is teaching our children some life lessons. Now, this is gonna just be a little talk, right? This is nothing fancy schmancy, right? And I'm gonna be sharing really from my heart what I believe are some life lessons that our children need to learn. In some cases, our children have stopped learning because parents have stopped teaching children certain life lessons, and I kind of want to talk about 5 of them today. So that's 5 life lessons that we should be teaching our children in 2022 and beyond. No, this doesn't mean that the child has to be a baby for you to, inculcate these things. It's never too late. So if I say something and you have not, thought to introduce this concept or principle to your child, this lesson to your child, I'm going to invite you to do that. And more so, as I would say to myself as well, I'm going to more importantly invite you to model it, right? If I can be completely open and honest with you, I find that, I read scripture lessons to Phoebe. I try to drive home certain points. You speak with respect. It doesn't matter who it is. There are certain mannerisms you don't do, so you shouldn't be knitting up your eyebrow after I speak to you. Just some little but huge things, right? And then I'll be going through my day and I see Phoebe, do something contrary to what I've told her that she should be doing. And I'll be like, Phoebe, what does God call you to do? What have I told you to do? What has Dada? She calls her father Dada, right? Told you to do. And I'll get a, that sort of a moment when you're like, I realize that Phoebe is doing some of what she has seen me doing, right? Whether it be how I've responded, how I've answered a question, out of, a little short in how I answer, or being, impatient in how I answer, or, just some little things that I do, and she pick it up and start do it, and you're looking, and it's like you're looking in a mirror and you're like, I do not like what I see. And now realizing that you are really, to be blamed. And that is how I've really come to realize how important it is to wisely to tell them. It's more effective to model the kind of behavior that you are expecting from them, and the kind of behavior that is the appropriate behavior. So all this talking, I'm realizing that Kim, talk. If you're not doing it, it's not likely to show up as an important thing to be done. Because if mommy is telling me that this is important, if mommy is telling me that this is what I should be doing, then why isn't she doing it? And that's a reasonable question, that's a reasonable argument. And so I too have to be working on, to making sure that what I say is what I do, and what I do is what I say. Say what you mean and mean what you say, do what you mean, and etc. Like I try to get little, I don't know where that was going. All right, so let me get into the lesson. First lesson is very basic, but it's kind of something that we kind of made. Children need to learn to tell the truth, right? When we were growing up, we used to say this, speak the truth and speak it ever, cause it what it will. He who does the wrong thing does the wrong thing still, or something to that effect. But the point of it was that you must speak the truth no matter what the consequence would be. And some of us, we may assume that our children will just automatically know to tell us the truth or to speak the truth at all times. But no, it is something you have to teach them to do. What do I mean by you must teach them to do? First of all, you have to tell them. You have to tell them it doesn't matter what happens, whether it has something to do with you alone, you and somebody else. It really doesn't matter. Any situation you are in, you must tell the truth. You must not necessarily be prodded for the truth, right? But you must volunteer the truth no matter what. That means that sometimes it's gonna get you in trouble. So Phoebe, I have to discipline Phoebe for lying to me, right? And I don't just assume that she's lying, but she's had situations where I've asked her something and she's lied, and I've asked her again and she's lied a second time. And I leave her alone and I say, Phoebe, remember, God says do not tell lies and you must tell the truth. And she's like, I'm like, you remember that, right? She says, yes. And I leave her and she comes and she says, Mommy, I have something to tell you. And I said, what is it? And she'll say, I just lied, right? And I'm like, Phoebe, you're not supposed to tell lies. And depending on the situation, I will discipline her, even though she's in that moment volunteered the truth to me. Other times I'll just let it slide because I acknowledge, I say to her, thank you for telling me the truth, but there must be a consequence for lying to me. There must be a consequence for lying. And why should we, impose a consequence when our children tell lies? Because they do not yet know the importance of being open and honest to the point where, hey, it might make a situation that might save them or might harm them, if you know what I mean. You want to have the kind of relationship and be teaching the kind of lesson to your child where when they get to a particular point, there's no ambiguity as to whether or not, should I tell the truth? Tell the truth and just deal with whatever the consequence is. It is always going to be a better option. Think of a teenager who, maybe is involved in something and you ask them about it and they lie because, they're used to lying about things to you, right? But maybe if they just tell you the truth, you can help them, or, you can assist them in getting out of whatever it is they're in. So yes, that's a lesson that we ought to be teaching our children in 2022 and beyond, to tell the truth, to be honest about every single thing, and we ourselves should try to model that as well. Lesson number 2, teach them good manners. Good manners. Our children seemingly have gotten more, I don't know how we would put it, but it's like they're more advanced. They seem brighter than we were at their age, right? And that's good, I suppose. But you see, the problem is that the people them don't have no manners. Children are seemingly, while parents are, we're trying to find the best of everything for them, we're missing the element and we're trying to get everything for them, trying to make sure that they're well and comfortable. My picnic cannot lack anything. My child must be comfortable. My child cannot suffer the way I suffered. There's nothing wrong with suffering a little, by the way. There's nothing wrong with suffering, but that's a side note, right? Yes, we all want best for our children, but on the journey to giving them this comfortable life and making sure that all is well, the red carpet is rolled out for them, because everybody has to look at our child and see that our child is the envy, the talk of the town, whatever it is that go through our minds. And of course, it's good that we want to give them the best, but one of the best things you can do is teach your child to have manners and respect. Let me add that one, right? To have manners and to show respect to others, right? And I think both of them go hand in hand. Now, as a Jamaican, you grow up and you hear that, hey, you can't talk to an adult like that. The adult doesn't, dog, can you just relax? The adult does not have to be known to you, like the dog. Let's wait for this dog to settle down. One can come get the dog a bone or something? I don't know. Anyways, so the adult doesn't have to be known to you. The mere fact that this person is an adult, the mere fact that this person is your elder, right? You must show manners and respect. You say good morning, you say good evening, you say please, you say thank you. You do not turn your back while persons are talking to you. You don't answer. We in Jamaica say you don't answer an adult on one hand. Yeah. Nah. Hello? Who you talking to? And even in our house, like there's certain things that my husband will make, like, you know, he will make it slide. Me? Even Phoebe realizes it's slip. Phoebe slip. Me say, wait. Even she talking to her daddy and him don't correct her, I say, listen to me now. We answering like that. We answer. I say, oh, sorry, yes, dada. And she pick it up. Why? Not because I'm a stickler, but because children must understand and respect authority. Again, we see a world where there is no differentiation. Everybody feel like they're the same. You feel like you can talk to your boss any and any way. You feel like you can talk to everybody. I mean, at the bus stop with a set of young people and older people, they don't have no respect because they just see everybody as one. They didn't learn the concept of having good manners and showing respect to your elders. In fact, you should be respecting each other, but more so, you definitely should be respecting your elders. And as parents, the reason why Pickney so disrespectful, one of the reasons is because parents have stopped teaching them how to be respectful. If you not teach it, how are they gonna learn it? From their peers who are already disrespectful? No, we have to return to teaching those lessons in 2022. Don't say that, oh, you know, times have changed and it's no big deal. It is still a big deal because it is the message that it sends, right? It's not a free-for-all. You don't just go into an organization and you and the boss and everybody is just, even if there is no real authoritative oppression then being put on you in your mind know say, I'm going to respect this person as my senior, my superior, as my elder, right? Let's just return to teaching that lesson. Good manners, right? You pass an old person on the road. In fact, if you pass anybody on the road, you should greet them, but especially an old person. Good evening, miss. Good evening, sir. Come on, I'm gonna bring it back now. Bring it back. If possible, bring it back. Hi, auntie. Yes, auntie. No, auntie. Not. No. Yeah. I don't like it, and I think it is a lesson that if you put it at file 13, it need to come back, right? And we need to put it in place. I'm talking to parents, of course, right? Don't leave that lesson behind. Teach your child good manners and how to show respect to others, especially their elders. Number 3, and I'm wondering if I should push this. I'm gonna save this one that I have for number 3. I'm gonna save this one for last because this one is probably the one that I'm most passionate about. Number 3 is really to show others compassion and to forgive. I'm gonna get into a story, and this story, I'm going to try to be as vague as possible because I don't want to say too much, but I want to say enough to get the point across. We live in a time where young people encourage each other and are encouraged by older people to not take chat, not take nothing from nobody, not take no chat from nobody. If you're there at school and somebody lick you, lick them back. I know there are many listening to me and they're like, oh, you mean anybody lick my pretty, I tell my pretty to lick them back, right? Anybody come up and my pretty face, I tell them to lick them back. And I'm not gonna pretend that I don't understand, because as a mother, I am very protective, right? And when I say I'm very protective, I'm not gonna know that somebody is taking advantage of my child, and I'm gonna sit down and be like, oh, let's sing a song, let's kneel in prayer and stay on our knees until the situation is resolved. I am going to get involved. What I'm not going to do is to tell my child to take matters into their own hands. I want you to see the difference. The lesson is that we are to be teaching our children compassion and forgiveness for others. This assumes that they are going to be wronged at some point in life. When they are wronged, so you set them up and I say, listen, when I say set them up, you let them know up front, you are going to meet some people who are going to treat you badly. Not necessarily by any fault of yours, but it's just going to happen. That's how life is. That's the kind of world that we're in. People are people, right? But what about the lesson of compassion? What if instead of saying to your child, anybody trouble you, make sure say and make it slide? What about saying to your child, if you get into a situation where you feel like you're being bullied or you're being, taunted for whatever reason, how about saying to your child, perhaps you can find a way to show compassion to that person, but at the same time, deal with the matter, report it to somebody, report it to me, because that's what I tell my little girl. That's what I tell my little girl, and I've had an example where I've had to deal with a situation based on that. But what I do not do with her is say to her, well, Phoebe, if something has made you uncomfortable, then make the pitney know, rare, blah, blah. I say to her, that is very unfortunate. She should not be doing that. He should not be doing that. Right? That is not kind. That is not whatever. And then I say to her, Toots, just forgive them. Okay? Just forgive them. And then I ask her, how would you want me to deal with it? Do you want me to do you want me to do this? Do you want me to, and I get her opinion. But the message, the lesson she has learned from me is that what is more important is that you show compassion and forgiveness to this person. It's not a popular stance, I know. But why am I saying this? You see, this mentality and these lessons, or the lesson that has replaced what I'm suggesting, which is to teach your child how to show compassion and forgiveness, which is anybody touch you, make them know, say them not for ramp with you. In American terms, in English we say, do not let anybody take advantage of you. That is a good lesson. However, when we teach them that at whatever cost, you must show that you are not to be messed with, you put them in danger. You put them in danger. I'm going to share, as I said before, something close to my heart, and I'm going to try to be vague. If you're Jamaican, you would have heard about a situation that happened very recently in one of the high schools in Jamaica where, a child, inflicted wounds on another child, fatal wounds on another child, and the fallout from that. Now, I knew the child who inflicted the wound. And without saying too much, I know what she was taught. Because I taught her at one point, and I know her background. I know, and this is not to excuse anything, but let's just say I know. Now, what if, and this is not a commentary on the situation, but let's say, what if one of those girls were taught to show compassion and forgiveness? Would it have turned out any differently? What if one of those girls were taught, walk away? If any at all possible, walk away. Unless somebody will hold you down, do not go toward confrontation. Do not look for confrontation, because nobody knows and nobody knew how that would end. What if either of those girls were taught the lesson of compassion and forgiveness? Perhaps it would have turned out differently. I don't know. But I'm saying it can again mean life and death when your child believes that they should not turn the other cheek. When you say turn the other cheek, Kim? Turn the other cheek? You're crazy? I know it sounds crazy. But at the same time, it's a lesson that I believe has been abandoned, and now we see all this commotion in the schools. There is no conflict resolution because nobody knows anymore. These children don't know how to show compassion and forgiveness. In fact, when you're now trying to talk them off of a ledge, there's no bringing them back from where they are. When you're now telling them, say, just relax. Relax what? They do not have that lesson in mind to pull on, to recall. To say, oh, maybe we did learn. Say, mommy and daddy did tell me, say, why sometimes if you just make certain things slide, it's not worth it. It's a lesson that has been abandoned to our peril, and our children are not able. They're not able to resolve conflicts in an appropriate way. And it has led to much unnecessary confrontation and in some cases bloodshed and fatalities, as we can see. So parents, think about that one. The fourth one is about money. what is it, what it for, how to handle it, how to look at it. Why would we need to teach our children about money, how to handle their money? I mean, they're hearing a lot of lessons about how to get it and how to get a lot of it. They're not short of that. But what about the lesson concerning how they're to handle their money, how they're to view money? The truth is, it's a huge problem because we are seeing a generation, and not just them, but before them too, that loves money and mishandles money. What do I mean by they mishandle it? They don't see it as something to be budgeted to research. It's just something. It's just a fly by night. It just, it no matter. In fact, whether you get it, no really matter as long as you get it, and what you do with it, no really matter as long as you have it, right? Children must learn that, first of all, they're not to love it, because as scripture tells us, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Meaning that when them love it and see it as a god, they find themselves doing things for it that they would not have otherwise done. Right? So that's the first thing. Now, in terms of how we handle it, they need to see you, whether or not you have a lot of it or not so much of it, they need to see you not being frivolous in spending money. They need to see you, they need to hear you talking about budgeting. They need to hear you talking about what you can afford versus what you can't afford. Define what it means to be able to afford something. If I walk into a store and I see a shoe, I see the shoe that is $5,000 and I have $5,000 in my pocket, that does not mean I can afford the shoe. Okay? Just because you have that amount of money does not mean you can afford the shoe. You look at it in the bigger picture to determine what it is that you can afford. Now, this is kind of drifting off, but I'm going to give you an example. When you teach your child that, you can just buy what you want, there is no consequence, there is no planning, there's nothing that goes into it, they end up becoming irresponsible. And guess what? They get to the point where no amount of money is enough. Because if you don't know how to manage your money, if they don't learn how to manage their money, it no matter if they turn into the most successful influencer that's bringing in a whole heap of kaching, they'll find themselves either in debt or not really putting their money to any meaningful use, find themselves literally just spending it. And I see so many quotes or memes or whatever, and people backing it up where they're saying like don't get me wrong, you have to treat yourself and whatever, but I'm saying it's like, well, I'm out here spending the money and I don't know how that is gonna get paid tomorrow, but hey, you only live once. No foolishness that. Like me would have want to raise one penny will come and say, boy, mommy, I have nothing in my bank account, but guess what, I got KFC go buy some. Because I only live once. What? Teach your children how to handle money by demonstrating to them how to budget. It's not everything that you want you can get from a monetary standpoint, and explain to them the difference between being able to afford something and not being able to afford something. I don't subscribe to debt, except if you're having a massive purchase, like buying a house, paying a mortgage. Debt for go, yeah. Sorry. Debt for go buy one new shoes or for go one party. Foolishness. Okay? Absolute foolishness. Teach your children how to handle their money by modeling to them. Let them see you working it out. Let them see you talking about it in the house. And yeah, give them little allowance. Make them figure out what they want to do with it, how they want to handle it. Let them practice. You have $20. Are you gonna use $10 to do that? Save that, and so forth. And I know saving in 2022 is like save what? yeah. Teach them. Go back to them lesson there. All right, guys. So the fifth lesson, and I said this is the one that I'm most passionate about. So I'm gonna try to not go on and on about it, because it's gonna be hard, but I'll try. The fifth life lesson that you want to ensure that you are still teaching your children is how to make healthy food choices. Let me say that again. Making healthy food choices, choosing healthy foods for their bodies. I don't know where to start, but I can say that we live in an era of processed fast. I don't like calling it food because I'm convinced that most of it is not food. It's not actual food. I've said this. Anybody who listens, they've heard me say this, right? I've said I'm going into somewhere and you're going to tell me that this food has been on a shelf for like what, 3 to 4 months, and the expiration date is like a year away, and when I open it you're going to tell me it's food. Then if it's real food, then it's not go bad. Because food supposed to go bad after a certain time, right? The way these foods have been over processed, we cannot fairly call them foods. And children, I'm sorry, I go to the supermarket and I'm looking in people's trolleys and I'm like, no, listen, if you don't feel judged, and I'm my problem, that I tell you what I do, right? I'm gonna like, it's not like I'm gonna go with my magnifying glass and say, ma'am, what's that? Take that out of your trolley. That's not good for the little one. Even though I'm very tempted to say that many times. Trolley load up with snacks. Not real food. Teach your children by what you give them to choose healthy foods for their bodies. Listen, it affects their brain, it affects their emotions, it affects their future. And let me tell you something. You know, when it comes to lifestyle diseases, you often hear, oh, it running in my family. Oh, you know, my mother have sugar, so yeah, man, I'm trouble with sugar too. And my mother have, and my father have, and why you think it happens? Usually gets passed on. You think it's by someone, you're born with it? No. It is because usually the choices that you make as a parent affect your child. And so usually if you are, you know, a diabetic or a hypertensive or whatever it is, the choices you make, you end up teaching your child. Whether or not you tell them, say this is what you should be eating for yourself, that is what they're going to end up eating themselves and continuing on to eat as they grow. And so that's why you find that lifestyle diseases end up in families just by way of behavior, right? If you decide, I am going to give my child real food, this is just, I just want us to teach your children to eat real food by giving them real food. Giving them real food. So I'm going to ask you to define food. If you put it down and it cannot go bad, it's not food. It's not food. You give them whole foods as close to the natural form as possible, right? We find that the childhood obesity rate has skyrocketed so much in recent times, right? 8-year-old obese diabetics, right? Because we have taught them not to choose what's best for themselves. Come on, we love for pitting them. So how are we now giving them things that is not even nourishing them poor little body when need the little nourishment as them grow, right? Choose right food for your children, and in so doing, they will then learn the lesson. Say, yeah man, I'm gonna put them. Remember back then, you know, this whole thing with cheese tricks and them something there as a norm. And I'm not saying that you don't have those stuff once in a while, you give them to the child, but every day, sir. But then you cut up fruit, you give the child, you peel an orange, come on, you give them the meat and them grown provision, just stay away from the processed stuff. I'm not saying go all out, and if you can go all out, do that, but stay away from the processed stuff. Stay away from the processed stuff. So I went into a particular establishment, right? So Phoebe said she wanted milk. So I was like, milk, these milk are not real milk, because the milk them have one whole heap of added sugars in them, and I'm like, girl, I cannot really, in good conscience, buy these milk give you. But she was adamant, and she was like, please, can I have it? So I was headed toward the fridge. And then I saw a shelf, and the shelf had, the little box milk. And I was like, babe, it's my husband. I was like, babe, how come it's milk and it's not on the fridge? And then I looked at the expiration date. I was like, no, this expiration date, they're way down away. I said, Phoebe, you not drink this, because this cannot be milk, right? And it, dip on the fridge and it not go bad till way down in the year. No, girl, no. I said, Phoebe, please just buy something else. can't do mine. I'm like, please, I love you very much and I want to treat you, but I cannot give you this thing that they've labeled as milk, because it cannot possibly be milk. If it comes from an animal and it is, in an appropriate state to be consumed, it should either be on a fridge, and worse, if it not depend no fridge, it should have go bad very, very, very soon. And I see the shelf stack way up in the sky. I say, una not go do that to my child body. I'm sorry. You try somebody else, right? But guys, we have to teach them to make healthy food choices, right? Now, if you talk to, if you see what a Phoebe would understand, she chooses for herself. She was going to dancing a while ago. She see me pouring out a particular snack to give her, and she's like, oh, that looks like a lot of carbs. I said, Phoebe, right now I know this will work with the carbs today, because I'm not going to go get on the else, right? But she herself chooses, and she'll say, no, I can't eat that. That's not good for me, and that kind of thing. She's 4. How she know that lesson there already? Because by example, I've taught her, right? So let's teach our child and our children to make healthy food choices, right? So those are the 5 life lessons that I'm going to encourage us to teach our children, reintroduce, start new wherever you are. Please, I think it would really help to make them and to make our world a better place. And as we focus on schooling and education, let's not forget that there are some lessons that count more. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of this video. I hope that you will commit to teaching some of these life lessons to your children. And if you have found any value in this video at all, please do not hesitate to like, to hit your subscribe button, and of course to share the video. So until we link up again, until we see each other again, take best care. Bye bye.